Hi folks. Hi folks, this is Jay. Hope you're okay today. I'm just cleaning my office and it looks a lot cleaner today. So I'm just going to finish off this back bit here. As I finish it off, I'll just talk about theology and philosophy and stuff like that. So I hope you enjoy it and just watching me clean and talk about theology and philosophy and what's on my mind, and it's just inviting you to my life, as it were. So I hope everybody's okay. Been out today doing shopping, and it's been interesting. Got a new mobile phone, and that was good. So I'll be able to do some filming outside because it's got a camera on. So hopefully next year, in the new year, we should have some filming, some street preaching in London. And in fact, I've got plans to go next year. I'm going to try and get down to London Speaker's Corner at least once a month, but I hope to go there once a fortnight. So if anybody's down in London and you want to come down and help me do street preaching on a Sunday, at 4 o'clock at Speaker's Corner, let me know. Or if anyone wants to put me up for the night when I'm down at London or whatever, if you want to get involved in that, let me know. Mainly just preaching the gospel, giving out literature, so I'm going to be doing that, okay? So I'm just cleaning the window because I had books, a lot of books on the windowsill, but I'll put them away. This is a good ministry. It's by Chuck Swindoll, Insight for Living. Charles Swindoll, and it's called Insight for Living is his ministry. Have a look at that if you're a Christian or atheist or whatever. Real good ministry, that. So just cleaning. So I had a keep knocking things over. Dear me, sorry about this. Some Muslim literature here. Stephen Masood is a Christian who was a Muslim. Wrote More Than Conquerors. If you're interested in studying about Islam from a Christian perspective, type in Stephen Masood and see what books you can find, because they're really helpful. I have been thinking recently about reaching Muslims because I've got a passion for that, and just seeing this Sharia law. I saw Jay Smith on YouTube preaching in Hyde Park, and I'm not so sure I agree with his method, because I use the same method to the atheist, and I don't think it's a good method. My method was this year, is kind of dealing with atheism in like a political way, and I think really we should just preach the gospel and preach the word of God and not get involved with that unless you're particularly called as a politician or someone. So I've kind of changed my opinion quite a bit and getting back to what I should be doing really, which is just preaching the gospel. But Jay Smith is doing it, is kind of dealing with Islam on a political level. And I have a channel called The Muslim World Pulpit, and on the featured page I put Jay Smith, who has a Quran, a guy reading a Quran, one of his mates, and he's reading the Quran about your hands get cut off and stuff like that. And I just didn't agree with it, because the Muslims were getting really upset and really angry. I mean, if someone took the Bible in Manchester or somewhere like that and started reading out and laughing at it, mocking at it would get me pretty annoyed. And so I can imagine how the Muslims feel. And I felt that Jay Smith wasn't really preaching the gospel as he should. I mean, I really respect him and I love the guy and admire him, but I think that that kind of tactic of trying to mock the other person's beliefs, personally, I don't think it's a good thing. And you know, I've come to change my tack the last couple of days. I think, you know, I want to get back to just preaching more the gospel really. And I think that the way Jay Smith has been doing it in Speaker's Corner with the Muslims, I don't think it's a good thing really, personally. I know what he's trying to do, and I love the guy, respect the guy, and I'm behind the guy, but I think we need to preach more of the gospel. And I should do that, and that's what I want to do next year with the atheists, because there's quite a lot of atheists seem to be around wanting to hear what I have to say and looking for things. Sorry, I get an itchy nose. And I'm going to be preaching more of the Word of God, and if they don't want it, they don't want it, and if they want it, they want it, and that's up to them. But I'm a preacher of the Word of God. I'm not a clown. I'm a preacher. You know what I mean? So I'll be getting back to preaching, and some of the atheists will soon disappear when they find that I'm preaching more about hell, hellfire and brimstone sermons. But you have to do that, because at the end of the day I believe Jesus is the Son of God, and I believe that people are going to hell and they're lost without him. I really believe it, and if I really believe it, I've got to preach it. It's no time for mucking about and playing games and doing silly things. We need to get the Word of God out, and we need to preach the Word of God. The other thing is, when I've done videos in the past, I became a bit of a character, like atheists like, oh, it's Jay, you know, let's see what he's saying and that. And that detracts from the message of the gospel, because it's not about me, it's about Jesus. So I don't want to be a character. I want to lift Jesus up. I want to proclaim his name. That's what I want to do. And I hope, as atheists, you get to see that. I had a conversation with a guy, I won't mention his name if you're listening. He phoned me up on Skype and we had a conversation for about 3 hours it was. I'm not going to mention his name. I'm not using that conversation as propaganda or anything, so I've not recorded it, and I'm not going to put it on YouTube or anything like that. So, you know, the person shall remain anonymous, because you know, I want to respect their privacy and what have you. But I had a conversation for 3 hours, and I just wondered what it achieved. I don't know what it achieved really, to be honest, because I don't think the person was really open-minded about the Christian faith. And you know, are you open-minded? You know, you said, you know, one of the things the guy said to me, he said, you don't like being challenged. I don't mind being challenged. I studied at Nazarene Seminary and Luther King House Seminary. Both seminaries are connected to Manchester University, and one was liberal, one was semi-liberal. And what that means is the people in those courses that are not solid evangelical like me, conservative evangelical. So I had to listen to people, and I purposely went to Luther King Seminary, knowing it was liberal, because I wanted to hear the other person's side. You know, I wanted to hear what the other person says. So I had to sit in lectures and listen to gay lecturers, for goodness sake. I mean, it was ridiculous, but I wanted to go to that seminary because I wanted to hear what the other side said. And I sat down and I listened to these lecturers, these feminist and gay theologians and whatever, and postmodernist theologians, and I listened to them, and then I said my opinion. When I said my opinion, they didn't like it. And I'm willing to listen to other people. I'm willing to listen and engage with other people. But those who are against the gospel, especially the militant atheist, you're not willing to listen. You want to control public space. You want to control public space. If you look at YouTube, very few Christians are operating on YouTube. Why? Because the militant atheists have bullied them off. So as militant atheists, you're not willing to listen to other people. You want to control YouTube for your own propaganda purposes. And then if anybody challenges you, you don't like it. You don't like anybody who challenges your atheistic views. You want to, like, for example, Christmas. You want to politicize Christmas. Why? So you can kick Christianity out of public space at the end of the day. I don't want to get into the political, but anyway, I had a conversation with this atheist on Skype, and I don't think it achieved anything. I don't think it achieved anything. The guy was calling me an idiot. I didn't understand his position, that he'd read David Hume, and I hadn't read David Hume, and he'd read this, that and the other, you know. He'd obviously been doing preparation, because he was better prepared this time than the other time I had a chat with him. But just because David Hume says something, or Alvin Plantinga says something, it doesn't matter. It's whether whatever they say is rooted in good premises and conclusions, isn't it? You know, I have a respect for Sir Thomas Aquinas and Anselm and John Calvin and Luther, and I have a respect for Descartes and Pascal, and I have a respect for Leibniz and Kant, and I respect them, but I don't agree with them a lot of things they say. I agree with some things, but just because someone's called David Hume or Immanuel Kant, so what? It's whether it's based on sound reason and sound evidence, and just because they're famous philosophers doesn't mean diddly squat. For example, David Hume is on record of saying racist comments. So, you know, you take the best from people and you get rid of the worst. And every philosopher and everything has got weaknesses. So when people say, oh, you haven't read this, or you haven't read that, or you don't know about this, or you don't know about that, well, one thing is, you know, those are arguments on authority, and they're not based on the actual evidence itself. You know, and also do your own thinking. You learn from tradition, you learn from others, but do your own thinking. Think outside of the box. And also, in thinking, people are trying to control. Everybody is trying to control public space. Everybody. Christian and non-Christian, atheist and non-atheist. All the philosophers, all the thinkers, all the operators of atheism on YouTube. Everybody is trying to control somebody else. The only thing is, Jesus gave up his control. He gave up his desire to control when he went to the cross. But everybody else wants to control. So all the philosophical discourse that someone says, well, Jay, you've not read Descartes, or you've not read David Hume, or whatever, I don't think you understand what you're saying, or whatever, that's just control. You want to control the way people think. You know, and I don't have to think the way you think, and you don't have to think the way I think. And I might approach a problem in a different way from the way you approach things. So in other words, I don't like too much dogmatism. You know, I don't like these intellectual people who come along and they're dogmatic in some ways. You know what I mean? I think that people have intellectual traditions and they come at things in a different way. I believe there's one truth, that's Jesus Christ. I believe he died, I believe he rose again, I believe there's objective evidence for that. But when it comes to philosophy, when you come to using philosophy, people come at things in different ways. And you know, so I don't like it when people come along and say and start using those kind of arguments like, you don't know David Hume and things like that. You know what I mean? It's just control and it's power games. That's what I think. And the conversation didn't achieve anything because it wasn't a normal conversation, because it felt aggressive. It felt like the person was just trying to demolish the other person, and it wasn't gentlemanly and wanting to listen to each other and learn from each other. So I don't see the point in having conversations with militant atheists. I just don't get it. I don't think militant atheists realise how brainwashed and how dogmatic they actually are. I don't think they realise, they really do believe that the creationists are the dogmatic ones, the creationists are the brainwashed ones, but in reality it's the militant atheists. They're completely brainwashed, they're completely dogmatic. They find it, not everybody, but most of the militant atheists find it really hard to listen to other people. I really do. Because if you argue with a militant atheist, they automatically say, oh, you're using William Lane Craig. Like this person said, oh, that's a William Lane Craig argument. And I'm thinking, yeah, well, you know, this is me, I'm Jason, I'm not William Lane Craig. I like William Lane Craig, I use some of his things. I don't agree with everything, I don't agree with his theistic evolution. But I'm just me. I'm just the way I am. So we come to the end now. So we've done that bit. So I don't think it achieved anything really. I think unless you're willing to actually listen and engage, then there's no point in having a conversation really. Cappadocian Fathers, folks. If you get a chance to read the Cappadocian Fathers. So yeah, I just feel like militant atheism is a dead end personally. But I like the guy who rang. The person who did ring, I gotta say I do like you. I do like you. But I just can't stomach the militant atheism, mate. But maybe you can't stick my militant evangelicalism. I don't know, but it's just the way I am, mate. So I've cleared up my shelves and everything, and that's some old notes on a play I was writing on called The Dr. Zhivago Resurrection, and these are notes on the life of Pasternak. Yeah, Pasternak was a really interesting character. The Russian writer. He's a really interesting character, Pasternak. I liked his poems, and I liked how he undermined communism in his book Dr. Zhivago by telling a love story, showing how this communism that was seeking to liberate people was actually becoming very manipulative totalitarian and controlling. And I really enjoyed reading Pastor Knight. It was about 1.5 years ago, and I wrote a play called Dr. Zhivago's Resurrection. So if you get a chance, have a read of Dr. Zhivago. I think I might read it again over Christmas. So basically, I'm just cleaning my office as I clean. I'll just keep on talking. Book here, Dr. Martin Lloyd-Jones. On the featured page of all my channels, I'll be putting Dr. Martin Lloyd-Jones sermons on. So I hope you enjoy him. He's really one of the great Christian preachers of the 20th century. So I'll put that. That book, if you're a preacher, that book's a landmark book. Preaching and Preachers is a landmark book. It's a landmark book by Hodder and Soughton. If you go on the Martin Lloyd-Jones Recording Trust, you go on there, you can listen to his sermons for free. Dr. Martin Lloyd-Jones Recording Trust, you can listen to his sermons for free, and you can listen to his lectures on preaching if you're a pastor or a preacher. Awesome lectures. So it's an old book. So this is a booklet on homosexuality. About 10 years ago, I preached at a conference and warned the church that what we're seeing at the present time in the church was going to happen. What concerns me about this homosexual thing is I feel that free speech, Christian free speech, is being taken away. Because let me ask a question on this gay rights issue. If you're a gay person, let me just ask a question. I don't mean any hate towards gay people, but I've just got a question. And you can, if you go on my channel page here and you look at the playlist, you can find a debate between Doug Wilson and a gay Republican. And the question is this: is there an intellectual, justifiable defence for a position that disagrees with gay marriage? As you as a gay person, do you feel that there are intellectual reasons and arguments to say that being gay is wrong and getting married as a gay person is wrong? Is it possible to construct a defensible argument? If there isn't, then basically, does that not mean we're in a realm of sort of totalitarian dogmatism? I'm just asking the question. If someone cannot bring an argument in the public square against your position, but you feel that you've won it outright and it cannot be argued against, does that not make your position more totalitarian and dogmatic? And I'm just asking the question. If you want to respond, I'd be very grateful for you to respond. So, the meaning of Christmas booklet. So I'm just putting these in. The Banner of Truth. I love Banner of Truth books. I'll do some of that reading actually over Christmas. For Pastors and Preachers, great book. The Diary of Kenneth McRae. One of my favourite books. Banner of Truth book. He was a Free Church of Scotland in 1915 to 1964, and great diary, that great diary, absolutely fantastic diary, published by the Banner of Truth. Excellent. Put that in there actually. So Bible translations, I've got different ones here. Bible translations. Which Bible do I use? Well, I use, as my Bible translation, I use the King James, the New King James, the English Standard Version, the American Standard Version, and the NIV. I use them all. My favourite one is the English Standard Version, the new one that's just come out recently. The best Bible translation is the King James. That's why I always use it. And the New American Standard Version, or the American Standard Version, those are the best ones that you can get. And the Darby Bible is a very good literal translation. But I use a variety of translations, so I get the best of everybody. That's not compromising, you know. I got my King James. I always have King James around. And when I do a Bible study, I always base it on the Textus Receptus. That's just me. But I think Bible translations are getting corrupted today. I mean, the new NIV is feminist and is dangerous, and you shouldn't be using that translation because it's definitely corrupted. So just be careful what translation you use. The King James Version has been used in revival. God has used it mightily, so I think you're always safe to go back to that. And any Bible translation that's based on that tradition is going to be a good one for you to get involved in, to use. You can always use, I think the New King James is a bit wooden, a bit stilted. That's why I like the English, I think it's called the English Standard Version or English Revised Version. It's a recent evangelical translation. So those are my thoughts on Bible translation. I come from a Reformed background, so Reformed, a lot of Reformed, not all, but a lot of Reformed are very strong on having a sound Bible translation, really. So those are my thoughts there on translation. So I would encourage you to just use a good literal translation, really. That's based on the Textus Receptus Greek manuscripts is a good place to start. That's what I would encourage. Then you know you're on safe ground. Got some old Muslim tracks here. I'll be doing a lot of that next year with Muslims, so please pray. So I got a mobile today. Someone bought it me as a Christmas present, and so we've come to the end now, folks. So I'll just put that there a bit. So yeah, so I've been out shopping today and I got a new mobile. the office is looking a lot better now, so that's good. And in a minute I'm going to go out and go and see my auntie and see how she's doing. Just trying to think what's on my mind. I think what's on my mind at the moment, I think this passage really spoke to me. Really spoke to me. Really blessed me the other day, and it's in Isaiah chapter 40 verse 28. It says, "Do you not know? Have you not heard? The Lord is the everlasting God, the creator of the ends of the earth. He will not grow tired or weary, and his understanding no one can fathom. He gives strength to the weary and increases the power of the weak. Even youths grow tired and weary, and young men stumble and fall. But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength, and they will soar on the wings like eagles, and they will run and not grow weary, they will walk and not be faint." And I think I've been encouraged the other day that if we're going to be strong, we've got to wait on the Lord. And I just feel that I'm being renewed, and I'm being strengthened, and I feel really happy and at peace, and really feel strengthened today and the last couple of days, because of, you know, just waiting on God really. And I want to wait on him and be renewed. And I know that there's going to be loads of things happening next year, and I know there's going to be a lot of preaching that I'm going to be doing on YouTube and stuff, and around the country as well. I just know that, and I want to get refreshed and strong and ready for that. So I just feel, rather than getting in activity, I mean, I have been doing this, getting YouTube channels up and running and stuff, but rather than doing a lot of activity, I'm just waiting on God. And then in the next few days after Christmas, I'll hit the ground running with more activity and preaching. So the importance of making sure your spirit is right with God, and you're spiritually right, and you're spiritually strong, and you're spiritually in God, I think is important. So there we are. That's what's been blessed me. There's nothing else to report on that front. Anything else? Yeah, what do you think of the new channel? I really like it. I really like Athanasius TV. I like all the stuff. I like the Bob Utley stuff. I don't agree with Dr. Bob Utley on everything, but he's really good at expounding the scriptures, and I like the testimonies, and I like all the theologians that are on this channel that I put up. I'm really proud of this channel in a good way, in terms of it's got a lot of good content if people are searching and want biblical teaching, or they want to know Jesus, and there's a mixture of all sorts of stuff. So I'm really pleased with it, the way it's gone. And after Christmas I will be doing a heck of a lot of videos, but there'll be videos where I'm preaching a lot and teaching the Bible a lot, and stuff like that. It'll be rooted in the Word of God. I'll be doing a lot of apologetic videos, and so YouTube's going to be seeing a lot of me next year, I think, but it'll be in a new way, in a new spirit. So that's me really. My favourite music, I like all types of music, but I like Baroque music is my favourite. I like classical music, excuse me. I like classical music, I like Baroque specifically. So if I am reading or if I'm writing or anything like that, I put that kind of music on. Excuse me. Is there anything else to report? What's happening? Well, I'm having communion tomorrow with my family, and some friends are coming round, so we'll be doing that tomorrow evening. Sorry. I helped my dad goes to some friends who were down and out, kind of, well, they're not down and out, so it's just that one's got a drug problem on drugs, another person's got a alcohol problem, a couple of them have got a kind of alcoholics, and you know, and they all live in a house, and my dad has been helping them, and so I said to my dad, look, bring them round for a meal. So they came last week, and so my dad's brought his mates. There were 3 of them, and my uncle came and he cooked, and I got the food and stuff. So we made them a big breakfast, and we like gave them like a massive slap up breakfast meal and stuff. But just to show some kindness, you know. Sorry, getting itchy nose. And apparently they want to come to church now, but I didn't do it for any other reason than just to be a blessing to them. But some of them want to come to church, and some of them want to come to a Bible study, so that's been an encouragement. So just little acts of kindness like that. And I kind of don't like Christmas really a lot of the time. Most Christmas I've never really enjoyed it, but I'm looking forward to this Christmas. God's really changed me the last few days. But at Christmas I'm normally quite miserable. But I'm really completely different this year. I'm really happy and really looking forward to Christmas. Specifically just sharing it with people who need support, really. So God's good. I mean, God's blessed me, and He's really encouraged me the last couple of days, so that's been good. I think in terms of like militant atheism and all that, sorry, I always get an itchy nose. I'm not picking my nose, I'm just scratching it. In terms of militant atheism and all that now, I think I just feel a responsibility, because I've become so well known with a lot of atheists on YouTube for the videos I made last 2 years, which were crazy, like political type videos, which were not really preaching the gospel as they should have been. Some of it, but most of it was more political, apologetic, but kind of being a character really. And so a lot of atheists, and when I wasn't at my best, and a lot of atheists have got to know me, and they keep coming around wanting to see more of the same, but I can't oblige them, because I'm called to preach the gospel. I'm not called to be a comedian or an actor or whatever. I'm called to preach the word of God. But I do feel obliged to share the word of God and to provide more professional counter apologetic material. So next year there will be stuff done for atheists, and then they'll be put on other channels. So, but it won't be in the same vein. It'll be more about the content rather than about me as a character. But the beauty is I can do things like this where it's more just friendly. How you doing? Have an open house, come and have a look in. I'd like to do a show next year if anyone's interested, and basically it'll be an hour long where I look at a topic, and if you want to ring in or have a discussion about it, let me know, and Skype me, and we can have a conversation about the topic that you'd like to talk about next year. And it's going to be called The Burns Show. So if you're interested in that, it'll be looking at theological issues. and apologetic issues. So if that's something you're interested in. So there we are. There's nothing more to report really, so I wish you all the best. Have a lovely Christmas if I don't see you before. Take care now. God bless.